Yeah. Yeah, it seems like ESOC is sort of kind of leveled the playing field there where you can't rely on water so much to,
Right.
it was pretty swingy before on RE, but
Yeah.
now it's a bit more just of like a subtle, words are difficult.
So the players did click into the match. We've got Aztecs versus Ottomans right here, which is, I suppose, is sort of expected. I know wookl does tend to play Ottomans when he can. I believe he is pretty famous for his Ottoman play, and then Lucas, as I was mentioning earlier, is pretty known for his non-European play, and Aztecs is one of those civs. So, spawning up here in the, if I can move this, wait, okay, there we go. Spawning up here in the top side of the map is Lucas L99 playing as the Aztecs in the color green. And then spawning down here in the bottom left side of the map, we have wookl playing as the blue Ottomans.
That's correct. And let's see where both explorers are going off right away. Lucas has taken his Aztec war chief to the sort of middle right area, which is a pretty good scouting pattern. Mido is sort of he sort of sponsored this before. He's told me what to do, where you generally pick up these pair of two yaks and then you just move horizontally across the map, and generally you can find a good wood treasure in there as well, but not one that we're seeing right now. The wood treasures are spawning here, and oh, there's a good one right here in the corner.
Oh
Um,
wow, yeah, those treasures are pretty good. Let me take a quick look
yeah,
at the map just to make sure it's all under control. Looks like seems like the spawn is fair, but I'll let
yeah,
me have a
yeah.
bet
No,
here. Okay.
I'd call this a fair map, definitely. So nothing nothing too sharp sticking out. I
Okay,
want to
great.
talk though real quick about this wood treasure. So on this map, what I really like to do when I get my first yak, especially when it spawns on that side next to the coast, is I like to send that yak to that corner to scout. Um, Not only are you going to find the location of this other yak, but also, I mean, there's this really good treasure that just spawned here that Lucas doesn't have any idea about, but which he could have if he just kind of used his yak to scout in the early game when there's no threat of it to be taken by Wokel's explorer. So that's just something that I like to do that I think can help. It's not a big deal, but just kind of pointing it out.
Right. So Lucas did end up picking up this 90 wood treasure on his side of the map, which is nice for him. He's going to be making a trading post out of it. Wookl, meanwhile, actually is going for a double trading post build to start off with. I'm guessing that there's a wood start, and so he was able to do this with maybe a little bit of chopping, but he's already starting off with an interesting build, and it says a little bit about what he's going to be going for, right? I think a lot of players, if they were going for a very aggressive sort of play, they might just go with one trading post and leave the rest of the wood because they need to age up still on time, and especially with Ottomans, chopping wood does slow your age up time a little bit. But going for these two trading posts indicates that he's going for some sort of, not necessarily economic play, but a slightly more economical play. But now we do see he sent schooners as his first card, so that tells us a lot more about what his game plan is here.
Yeah, definitely. And like you said, with Ottomans, their sort of economy is in their trading posts, and so when they do build these early trading posts, that they are sort of investing something into the later game. And especially if we look at his deck, like you said, he sent schooners, and he's got the rendering plant card and the fish market and the two galleys and H2. It's a pretty water-centered deck. We even see a fort in there, and
Oh
a
wow.
couple of H4 unit cards. So Ottoman's definitely going to try to go for some sort of uh, eco-based sort of longer play on the water, and we'll see what Aztec does in response to that, because Aztec is a very famous um, water civ in that they can ship a card which includes a water dance at their fire pit, and it makes their canoes just ridiculously strong on the water, but Lucas doesn't have that in his deck. He has an entirely land-centered deck, and that could turn out to sort of nip him in the butt here. We'll see.
Yeah. It looks like he is going to be taking this other 85 wood treasure, so he is doing pretty well in the treasure war right now. I don't think wookl has gotten nearly as good fortune with these treasures. He's got 50 wood, 55 coin, not too bad, but I think the 175 wood that Lucas has now gotten is very good. And actually, there's a small treasure contention going on right here. I don't think
Yeah.
there's any chance of, yeah, Lucas wasn't going to actually steal it,
Oh, this
but
tiger is breaking the snare. So Lucas could have had the snare there with his Aztec war chief, but this tiger, which is faster, which does not snare, got in between the two, and so wookl going to be able to escape. It's not a big deal because wookl has built both of his trading posts already, and there aren't very many major treasures left on the map. But you know, that could have been a nice sort of XP bonus for Lucas if you would have managed to kill him. I'm not sure if he would have, but.
So some exciting things going on. We can already see wookl's putting up 2 walls, and Lucas, you can see, he actually put up this war hut over by the water. So this is actually interesting because it means that he has some idea of what wookl is doing, right? He knows that there is a water plan in the strategy here, and he's putting this war hut over onto the side so that he can protect against this water. Looks like wookl is starting off with a dock as well. He has 1 dock already, and is starting to make some of the boats there. We'll see how much he commits.
Yeah, Lucas, like you said, has a good idea what's coming. He's also scouted both of the docks on the coast with this converted tiger. And so we'll see what his response is here. I think he's already going to the trading post to build that second trading post and get Stagecoach researched. We'll see if Stagecoach comes in for the Ottoman player. I expect it will. It's such a good investment on this map, especially when these 2 teepees are sort of sheltered from any other action. There's low risk that they might be sieged by aggressive units.
Looks like another 2 galleys out of wookl right here.
Yeah, so the 2 galley shipment came pretty soon.
Yeah,
I don't know if it's going to be enough to take on this war hut, though. I don't think 2 galleys necessarily is.
Yeah, I'm curious as well. It looks like actually it's going to work.
Oh, it definitely is.
Yeah, I guess this is a question that is kind of important to know. Like, does 2 galleys beat 1 war hut or 1 outpost? Evidently, yes.
Evidently, very much so.
Yeah.
And you're right. That's very important to know because that's a huge swing in the game right there already. Another war hut's coming down for Lucas right away. It's sort of out of the range of these galleys, I think, or maybe he didn't scout it. But yeah, that 250 wood, what did it accomplish? He built 5 pumas out of it, which aren't going to be able to press this town center at all. He could try to siege this trading post here from the Ottoman player, but he does have, wookl has a barracks town already, and could train Janissaries if he so chooses. You know, I think Aztec is kind of the player here to make something happen, because otherwise this sort of uncontested sea boom from the Ottoman player is really going to, I think, ramp up and
absolutely, yeah.
Carry on into the late game.
We can see that wookl right now has a 6 villager lead to Lucas right now, and I think what tends to be the case is that if you're behind in villagers against the Ottomans, you're in a very bad position. Even with the native civ, which tends to be relatively low on the villager count, it's never a good feeling to be down 7 villagers against the Ottoman civilization.
Yeah, and I think what you kind of have to do here as Lucas is maybe just invest into this land push, you know, go high siege Puma mace, but which can be quite effective versus just Janissaries. And this is sort of the problem the Ottoman has facing Aztec in the early game, is that they really need to rely on Avis guns to contend the Macelton mass, which is just now going down for wookl, but maybe there's a window that Lucas could have made a little more happen. But I mean, once Ottoman gets a mass of these Avis gun, you have to wonder what units Aztec has that can deal with them, because they're so strong.
Yeah, it's interesting what's going on here. So Lucas did put some early pressure on with some of those pumas, but it didn't really work out too well. And actually, okay, this is
huge.
That, yeah.
Lose the entire army here. And I mean, Minutemen, if you didn't know, Minutemen bonus versus Puma, because Puma are considered siege units. So actually, I think it only takes 2 Minutemen shots to kill a Puma, which is going to be the primary anti-cat here.
Yeah. So we did have some Pumas reinforcing, and that might be enough to hold. I think that the snare didn't really go down for wookl there, so he has a little bit of a chance here. I think he actually will win this engagement with these Pumas, with the Minutemen losing so much life.
So this could have been microed much better, I think, by wookl, but understandably, he's kind of a lot on his plate too with water as well.
Yeah, certainly. Yeah, it's a fight that if wookl had made it work well, he would have just won the game outright. Right, he would have been ahead in the military and on the economic side, having the water as well. He would have been in great shape. As it stands,
he got this one Avis gun out, but it's not doing much by itself. In fact, it's taking a lot of damage from those mace. But you can kind of see just how tanky these Avis guns are. I mean, versus these Macelton, they have range resistance, and the mace are not. I mean, they're sort of a counter unit. They don't have very high DPS to units that aren't heavy infantry, and so I don't know. It's tough to say. I mean, I'm still giving the edge to wookl here just because his economy is in such better shape. But another batch of just one Avis gun. I mean, he's got to get
Yeah,
out
it's true.
something to contest this.
Yeah. We see a lot of Puma coming out, right? We've got 10 Puma
Yeah.
out on the field. We've got another 9 Mace coming to reinforce. So Lucas is actually putting up a pretty good fight. There's not a lot of Avis guns that are still coming out. I mean, the 700 gold might turn things a little bit. We'll see if the Avis queue are really start to queue up from here.
Yeah, and Ottoman has even added a stable, right? So how often do you see Ottoman with 3 production facilities in H2 and they're actually
Making use of them? Yeah, he actually does have a unit in queue in every single production facility right now.
Yeah,
Which
is insane.
Yeah.
And Coyote runners are out, but these guys aren't super strong, right?
Yeah.
You almost don't want to make them before, or you almost don't want to use them before Coyote combat comes in. And 2 Hus rating now for wookl. He kind of missed this batch of villagers out here gathering unsafe, but still, it's getting out there and being proactive with your cavalry is never a bad thing, I don't think.
Yeah.
Always losing villagers though. They didn't get garrisoned into the PC.
Yeah, I was a little surprised about that. There's quite a few villagers went down. Yeah, it looks like 3 went down there.
Sitting ducks, and he's gonna lose this stable. And I mean, how many Avis can he mass up? That's gonna be the real question. There's quite a large army here for Aztec, and just more units flooding in, more Puma. These high siege units. Ottoman doesn't have a whole lot of time to deal with them.
Yeah, you can see Ottoman has a lot of resources picked up, right? He has a full batch of Avis if he wanted them, a full batch of Janissaries in addition if he wanted those. Looks like another batch is coming out just now. But
Yep, and he's putting the Janissaries in melee. He wants to try to snare these Maze, and hopefully the Avis are going to pop here soon for wookl. Don't see them yet. The Coyotes are in here. Another batch of 5 reinforcing Coyotes are going to have to be cleaned with. And there's just so much stuff here for Aztec, and there's not a lot of room for Avis guns to kite. And yeah, he's laying down another stable, but this could get cleaned up just as easily too.
Yeah, I'm a little concerned about the stable positioning actually, because it's right about to go down. Actually, if Lucas wanted to, he probably could have kept it from going up at all and killed a couple of villagers for his trouble.
Yeah, this is the thing though, is that wookl's economy on water is so good that he could almost like lose most of his infrastructure, but if he was able to just mass an army that could take this army from Aztec off the map, then he would be in just a fine position.
Right.
So it's just a matter of getting that infrastructure up and getting those units out, which is going to be a big question. He ships 5 Janissaries, but that's not going to do much. In fact, there are these 2 SRs that could have killed these 5 Mace here, but
yeah, I actually there's not a lot of Puma left. I'm noticing. There's only 6 around, so actually a Hussar pop right here could be quite good.
Yeah. And the barracks coming down now too. It's just wookl is just any units that he manages to spawn, he's immediately losing them, which he can't do. He really has to mass up sort of this critical mass in order to engage this Aztec army.
Exactly, yeah. A little bit of rating going down for him over here, which is nice. Okay, so yeah, Lucas is responding, and he knows that he can just punch these guys.
Yeah, he can. He is going to maybe lose 2.
Yeah.
Ideally, you could have not lost any there, but it's not a huge deal.
Right.
A lot of things happening, like these stars popping, but they're able to run away.
Yeah, that was a close one, actually.
They're fighting here, though, and the Pumas are going to engage, too. And see, this is just not a fight you can take if you're wookl.
Exactly, yeah.
In fact, ideally, you pop those Hussars and they do just what the other Hussars did, and they raid. You kind of have to distract Lucas enough, until you can get units out. But I mean, this stable is just falling. Also, he's lost now 4 production facilities.
Well, he's got another stable up over here. And actually
and
another stable.
So, wow.
I don't mind the fact that he's made, I think this is now his 5th stable that he's made, although I do think that he might benefit a little bit from spreading them out a little bit more, so that as soon as each stable goes up, he doesn't immediately lose it, and he can start to build up that Hussar mass. Because, I mean, we see 9 Hussars, right? That's not so bad.
It's not going to be enough to ship or to deal with these Coyotes. And do the Coyotes have Coyote combat things in the shipment set?
Oh, no, not yet.
Okay, so that could be a card that Aztec is potentially looking to get. But still, yeah, I mean, these Hussars are not enough to deal with this huge mass of units. And Yeah, I mean, so this would have been like, I think I would have liked to have seen wookl build, like sneak a couple builds and build his military buildings on the coast, just so like one galley can protect them.
Right.
But
Absolutely, yeah.
I
Maybe
mean, so
even he could build a galleon,
yeah.
and he'd actually have a military building that won't die.
So he's raiding with these 3 SRs, and it's occupying all of Lucas's coyote runners. So like, if a Hussar batch had just popped like 10 seconds ago, there wouldn't have been any units to like protect it. And so that's something like being proactive with your units and spreading around Lucas on the map can get you favorable engagements at home. But he hasn't quite made that happen yet. And,
So, unfortunately, stable number 6 is revealed for Lucas. Um,
yeah, it is. Oh, these poor 3 SRs are just running around and I guess aren't doing much. And oh, these Pumas have such high siege.
they're a pretty good unit.
Yeah.
They have a lot of siege, a lot of. They take 2 shots, I guess, from a TC, unless you have a colonial militia, in which case they take 1, which is too bad. But otherwise, they can do a lot, even though they cost gold, which is something that Aztec tend to have a bit of trouble getting.
Yeah. Oh, wookl is aging, so I mean, this buys him some military shipments. 5 Spahi, 2 Falcons, Mamelukes, if he can get the gold. But you need something else. Like, there's no single shipment that wookl can send right now that will pull him out of this. He does have the 2 stables up, so maybe something combined with like a really exceptional Hussar pop could work. But I mean, this TC is going to go down so soon. These Pumas have such big
and he calls
TCs,
it.
and that's GG called.
I think wookl had a really good position a few different times, right? He had a great economy starting off. He almost won right out off the bat with that Midman pop. And then it just sort of fell apart for him. I'm not exactly sure what caused it to fall apart, but it seemed like he was banking a lot of resources, not really spending them the way he needed to. And eventually, Lucas just had a big mass that wookl could never really contest and just kept losing units to just incidental things, right? Losing a Hussar here, a Hussar there, but never able to build up the mass he needed.
Yeah, it is pretty interesting actually. In the all resources gathered post-game graph, wookl was actually never ahead. I know that he had lots of idle time with the larger military from Aztec, but kudos to what Lucas pulled off. Just getting that early stagecoach, as did wookl, but he did a nice job of spreading his villages around, minimizing walking time, etc. And such that, well, I mean, was this water boom really worth it? It's hard to say.
Yeah. I mean, we saw, I guess, the first thing that we saw off the water boom was the galleys just taking down the war hut, which definitely helped. It slowed down Lucas a lot to be able to do that. So wookl's starting play was great. And did both players just Okay, they're restarting. Okay. I was concerned. Oh, did you restart as well?
I'm restarting as well. So,
okay.
Caster Confession, I forgot to install the UI.
See, I did that last night.
That game a little blind.
I knew I was going to forget today, so I did it last night to make sure it would be under control.
I usually actually never forget it, but today I did. So, oh well.
Alright, so going into game 2 right now, let me check the maps. I have these copy and pasted. Yeah, okay. Sorry, Gran Chaco is next. Tibet was vetoed. And yes, Lucas is first to pick.
Alright, I'm going to refill my cup of coffee. One moment.
So Lucas currently leading 1-0 in this best of 3 series against wookl. Showed some pretty impressive play after some earlier setbacks in game 1. Also playing as the Aztecs, which is always really nice to see. We don't see too many native civs in tournaments especially. And locking in China next, which is another civ I'm pretty excited to see getting play. Interesting to not see China on a TP map. I think that China does tend to like getting at least one trading post when they can. And this is a map where there's no opportunity to take such a thing. But I think Lucas is a strong player. I think he knows what he's doing. I think he's probably practiced on this map and knows that there is in fact no trading post, and he knows the build to go for here. I'm interested to know what wookl will respond with. I believe his second favorite civ after the Ottomans is the Dutch, but he is a little diverse in the options that he has available to him. And so there we go with the Dutch.
All right, I'm back. Yes, Dutch is pretty popular on this map. It's no TP. Dutch is popular in the meta.
Right.
But Dutch versus China will be a good map. You can definitely play China on no TP maps for sure, and there are some livestock on this map which will be beneficial, but I think ideally you want to get a TP as that Civ, especially versus Dutch. It's going to come down to sort of H3 play, right? Which I think a TP in H1 definitely benefits China, but I think it's still a very close matchup, and we'll see what sort of build order Lucas goes with, because there are some sort of actually Dutch and anti-Dutch specific strategies that China can do. But anyway, so spawning in the northwest of the map is Lucas in the color green playing China, and in the southeast is wookl in the color red playing Dutch. This is game number 2 in our best of 3 in the ESOC Autumn Championship 2018. And
thanks for reminding me to update the score, because I definitely forgot to do that. Let's do a quick map check as well, so that we don't forget to do that either. So,
so
1, 2, 3.
This map spawns a little odd, but
yeah, it's hard to compute, but it looks like so you've got 3 mines, and I can't do this.
This looks fair to me. So you have outside of the starting hunt, both players have 3 hunts with an approximate equivalent average from their respective TCs. Both players have the 3 mines. It's all good. They both kind of have like a hidden mine and 2 that are out front. So
yeah, I think wookl's mines are slightly better. This mine over here is a little bit better than this one, but
that's about as close as you're gonna get. So it's pretty good. And then we see the mining contention is this guy, sort of the mid-map mine, which is a little closer to wookl, but again, that's pretty late game. This map is very balanced in terms of
sounds good. Yeah. So I think what we were looking at was what the players are going to be doing. Lucas almost certainly would go into Fortress. I think it would be very hard to play Chinese Colonial against the Dutch Colonial. And so I would be very surprised if he didn't go into Fortress unless he was doing some sort of all-in strategy with China, which is possible. And so we are going to see some Fortress play out of both of these players, most likely.
Yeah, and this is a matchup where Dutch is like almost content with only making banks in H2, just doing their sort of bank thing, and China is content with sort of going as eco-heavy H3 strat as they can. One thing I did want to bring up is when I was talking about the anti-Dutch strategies that China has on their plate, they generally involve trading posts. So for example, Mido does some sort of like British consulate petard rush, where he ships 8 pikes in transition to H3 and like builds a forward village, etc. But he builds 2 trading posts in that strategy, and it's almost restricted to use on Tibet. So I think we'll see some very standard things out of Lucas's China. I think the big question will be whether he decides not to ship 700 coin to age up, which China can do by just laying down the colonial wonder with 1 villager and mining all the coin. So
I think China is built a little bit more than I do. So I'm noticing that Lucas doesn't have a 600 wood shipment in his deck. So if you did a no 700 coin shipment to get to H3 and just did 700 wood, I would expect him to ship 600 wood afterwards, but since he doesn't have a trading post, he might not be able to do that anyway, and he might just save that shipment for H3. So I don't know exactly if this build works.
Yeah, I don't think it does with his deck. And that's another good question, whether it works even without a TP, because I almost strictly play China on TP maps and always build a TP. But yeah, so generally you would, like you said, send 700 wood and then 600 wood following that. Or you could also do 700 wood, 300 export, but he neither has 300 export or 600 wood in his deck.
Oh, really? Huh.
So yeah, and he's laying down this wonder with 4 villagers. So this is about as standard China as you can get. He didn't eat his goat, but I think that's fine. He's just going to save that.
So one noteworthy thing is that Lucas did get two 100 XP treasures, so he actually is pretty far ahead in the shipment uh, race right now. So he
Yeah,
has, and looks like a bit of treasure contention going on here. Lucas is going to miss it, but so he's going to actually have two shipments once he gets into age 3, and I believe he's already sent. Yeah, he has already sent one shipment, so he's actually very far ahead in shipments right now from what he would normally be. It's as if he had a trading post almost.
yeah, definitely, and that's going to be very beneficial to him. China likes their shipment, so that is a nice benefit that you do get those experience treasures on maps with no TPs. It's sort of a nice. It's a little underrated, I think, the experience treasures, but.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, so we see an early stable come down for wookl in base. So he's going to try to harass Lucas. You know, he's not going for the boomiest playstyle he can, but he is laying down a market. I expect 700. Oh no, bank wagon. So this is a little bit more aggressive for Dutch than we normally see. He's not laying down just the banks. He's going to be making some units to harass China.
Right.
I would like him to pick up the 30 wood in his base, but that's okay. He's scouting at the moment too, which is very important. And then we'll see Lucas's first card. I expect it to be 700 gold. So then he'll have to sort of deal with these 4 or 5 SRs or however many pop out while he's trying to age and collect that coin.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure how I feel about this sort of making 5 Hussars to harass a straight FF. It seems like against a good player, you're never going to get a villager. Maybe you'll get one if you get really lucky. And so you're just getting some idle time, but oftentimes they'll be aged up before you even get into their base, which I think there's a good chance where Lucas is going to be already aging by the time these 5 Hussars get over there. And so the value they present is, I don't know exactly how I feel about it yet.
Yeah, I agree. It seems like if you're only relying on just the 5 Hussars and nothing else, and if you're especially sending them from the back of your base and they have all this walking time, like you see, the wonder's already laid down. And so this is kudos to Lucas for just sort of employing a just well-executed
Definitely,
make an FF with China, because it does require, some like basic macro and villager manipulation to be efficient. He's going to lose the Explorer, but actually, the Hal was popping up just in time, and the Explorer's going to stay alive, which is important if he wants to train disciples to keep these stars out as the Minutemen lose hit points. So, excellent trade here for Lucas, and Hussar instead has basically no hit points, and China's lost nothing. So.
Yeah. And sentries are interesting because they take so long to lose their hit points, right?
They do, and
they last basically forever, it seems.
Yeah. And so this is sort of the idea that when you are making 5 Hussars to harass China, you make like 5 more or 3 more or something, so that when these Hal minutes pop out, you are receiving a reinforcing batch of Hussar, and then you just fight them. You don't wait for them to lose hit points. And then he would have already been in this space harassing these villagers building the wonder, and would have been much more of a nuisance, I think, much more effective than just 5 Hussars. But nonetheless, that's what he's chosen to do, and Lucas has done a nice job dealing with it. Hasn't lost a villager, and he's going to have a very nice age-up time for China.
Yeah, 737 or maybe 740. Oh wow,
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah,
And,
going pretty forward here, yeah.
I like this. He snuck out a villager, and he's sort of building this forward base so that he can harass the Dutch player, who he knows is going to be aging up slower because he did make these 5 Hussars early on.
Right.
Dutch hasn't even clicked up yet, and so China's age 3 has a shipment. Doesn't quite have the export for Musk, but he will be able to make units and harass this rather exposed hunt before wookl can really deal with it.
Yeah, we see wookl going for this 5th bank here, and he still hasn't clicked up. He'll be doing that in less than a minute, but it's a little concerning because China does have the potential to just roll over wookl before he's really able to get a Skirm Goon or Skirm Reuter mass up. There's a little bit of a chance to... Okay, so...
Yeah, that was close, yeah. It could have gotten kind of stuck, but it didn't. Yeah. And oh, wow.
Nice pop there, too.
Right on top of this. This is nice, and at least the forward base is scouted by wookl, but like we said, he's only just clicked up. Any minute now, a batch of units should pop from this forward village. And yeah, they're just like 11 villagers right here hunting in front of the stable. Those are all going to have to walk somewhere else, which is a huge loss of resources.
I mean, he's got a hunt over here and a mine, which means he's not going to be starved off of resources. But this is actually right. There's 2 hunts here that he's not going to be taking, and then this 3rd hunt over here on this side. So there's a lot of resources that he's not going to have access to.
Yeah, and interventions popping out, but they weren't really rallied here. They were a little slow to get here, and actually maybe China kind of doesn't have as much of a window as I thought, because there's not a lot of siege right here for him. Dutch also has a shipment that they just sent, and surely units are in queue. And he's called Minutemen to save the stable, which I like. I think this is a good move.
Let's see. So he did forget about these 3 Changdao over here, unfortunately for him. I think that would have actually helped him out quite a bit with the sieging. But yeah, so, okay, it looks like wookl isn't doing too bad with the defense. I think the Minutemen are going to die, maybe a little preemptive, because I don't know.
Maybe could have timed them a little better. And that's something I struggle with, Minutemen timing, so when I make a comment on it, the viewers shouldn't. But the stable is still up, and he has more hussars in queue. Interesting, though, that he made hussars rather than... I mean, normally you'd see Dutch make Reuters, especially when this Chinese cav comes in. You want to have Reuters to deal with them, not unupgraded hussars, which actually those 5 hussars popped and did absolutely nothing.
Yeah, I saw that too, yeah. So, Lucas noticed his 3 Changdao at the end there. So yeah, I'm a little concerned for wookl right now. He does have the 2nd stable because evidently he loves making stables, but he lost a lot of hussars. He's lost about, I guess, 8 so far, and there's just no Reuters, a lot of Chinese cav, which roll over all these other units. Yeah, I think Lucas is just coming right in, and he can take this trade.
He keeps making hussars, which don't trade well versus these Chinese cav who all are shadow tech, right? These are veteran Chinese units and colonial.
Exactly,
Dutch units,
yeah.
And they're also so good against skirmishers.
Yeah, they're really good against skirmishers too, yeah.
Just a flood of Chinese units. Dutch has a shipment that he's just now sending. He could have sent a little earlier, but not much is going to save him here. He's going to lose his stable pretty soon, which is his last production facility, and he's very wood-starved. He doesn't have the wood to build. Well, okay, he's building another stable, never mind. So,
okay.
Traded for that.
He's building a 4th stable too. So I think we've seen 10 stables over 2 games right now, right?
This is insane. Yeah, this might be like a record for the most stables in like 20 minutes.
Oh my!
But the right unit coming out. I mean, 11 Qingdao swordsmen for Lucas is going to add tons of siege to his composition. Whatever miracle pops of colonial hussar wookl gets aren't going to be effective, and he calls GG.
Yeah. So pretty impressive play out of Lucas right there, getting a little bit of struggle in the first game, but pretty quick 2-0 after that. And he'll be going on to the next round to play against Soldier.
Yeah, Lucas versus Soldier, that'll be a good match. I'm looking forward to watching that. And like we said, an impressive 2-0 from him. wookl is definitely a good player in his own right. Yeah. And I definitely enjoyed watching that Ottoman game, even though it didn't quite turn out for him. So
yeah, I'm not sure if this is a tournament elimination for wookl or if there's still an opportunity for him to play. I believe he is eliminated, unfortunately, but he's eliminated from the main tournament anyway. I think he still has a chance if he wanted to play in the second chance tournament. But I don't think he can continue here. I don't know exactly how the brackets work, but that's how I think it's set up. Nonetheless, I think it is exciting to see him play. I think we don't see a lot of people in the Chinese community coming out to play in the ESOC tournaments, and it's always nice to see when they do. And I think even though it didn't work out too well for him this time, I'm hoping that he'll continue to show up for these tournaments, because it's always a pleasure to see these players coming out to play.
Yeah, I hope so too. I totally agree. So looks like the next series we have on our plate is scheduled to begin in 18 minutes. Oliveza versus SirCallen. We'll wait for those players to show up online and get the action going.
Yeah, I'll see if they're online. Just I want to review the last game a little bit. I think going back to what I was mentioning earlier on, where wookl made these 5 hussars, and they didn't really do anything. And then he was behind on the age up, and so Lucas basically just gets to make a bunch of units for free and then rolls into his base and wins the game. I'm curious to learn from maybe some top players and have some of their input on this, where you play against somebody who's doing a naked FF. China's of course they're going to do a naked FF, and you have the opportunity to either naked FF with them or to do some sort of semi FF with Hussars. Is it better to just go for this fairly greedy, like make a bunch of banks, then age up around the same time as, or maybe a little bit later than the Chinese, and then try to maintain military parity or maybe a slight military disadvantage until you leverage your better economy? Or do you want to make a few units, try to harass the Chinese, and then try to use that economic advantage you get to win in H3? It seems like from this game we saw the former option is the better one. You don't really get anything out of these SRs. They are already aged up by the time you get into their base, and maybe you get to get a little bit of vital time, but oftentimes you don't even get that. But I'm curious to know what others think about that.
Yeah, so that's a good question. That it reminds me of something I read from Garia on the post. Sort of his philosophy of like strategies and like the strategy counter system. So I think he said it in pretty simple terms that a naked FF beats a semi FF.
Really?
Which we saw there, right? Yeah, but he says that a rush beats a semi FF, but that a naked FF beats.
So I think I think it's the other way around, right? I think the semi FF was designed to beat the naked FF. That's my understanding of how it was.
Right.
Yeah,
I was mistaken. You're right there. Which is interesting because it obviously just didn't work there. So
yeah,
I think some comments on the Twitch stream here, and Tavin said that wookl built his 5th bank when China was already H3, which
I saw that. Yeah, that was.
That's greedy because there's just not enough time for that to pay off. That's 700 resources just kind of invested for 4 villagers.
Yeah, I think the bank number 5 is a little bit of a greedy play there, and I don't think that paid off for him at all. In terms of the naked FF versus the semi FF, I know that the idea behind the semi FF was that you will be able to get to H3 shortly after the naked FF, but you'll have a better economy, you'll have a little bit better infrastructure set up, and so even though the naked FF player will be in your base with a lot of units, because of defender's advantage, you'll be able to defend, and you'll have better economy and a better infrastructure, and so you'll win in the long game. That's how it's intended to work. And then the rush. Go ahead.
I think China is just sort of an exception then, because China's naked FF is unique because they also have the Summer Palace in H2, so they get units, and also the Minutemen are such a robust unit, and as well as the Explorer can train disciples. And so China is able to age up very quickly, and then also have a pretty nice collection of units to age or to defend against some sort of semi-FF presence. And, when you're facing China, it seems like 5 cav is never enough. You either have to make like 10 or sort of do like a forward base 5 cav, 5 musketeers, something that can eliminate that first group of Summer Palace units, Minutemen, and Disciples to continue to apply pressure. So it's tough. That's why China is a good civ. That's why the China naked FF has been a meta strategy for as long as they've been out, and most people try to go try to beat China's economy in H3 when they play them.